Our next question will be directed towards Dr. Calabrese. Doctor, in surveys, teachers have asked for more collaboration and professional development that is relevant to the work they are doing and embedded in their work week. What plans are in place right now to improve professional development of Broward teachers?
Well, earlier we had Nicole speak about some important professional learning opportunities that research has stated that have implication and can correlate to student achievement. And we have a variety of opportunities in our district currently, from online to face-to-face, professional learning communities, programs that will help you to improve your practice, national board certification, and as you know, Broward is #2 in the nation in national board certified teachers. And we have a variety of professional learning communities. I think there were 400 or 500 different types of professional learning communities in our district. Now, let's talk about that, because that gives teachers, and all of us, whether you're a teacher or administrator or non-instructional, to have a learning community where you're going to gather together and look at your practice is extremely important and imperative that we have these opportunities to grow. However, let's look at the professional learning community. We have to drill deeper, because we are currently, if we could think of all the opportunities that we have in our district, we have a lot of inputs. Do you know what I mean? We have a lot of offerings, let's say, and a lot of opportunities, a great deal, numerous opportunities that one can engage in. When you complete your professional growth plan as a teacher, you can look at yourself as an individual for your learning goals for yourself, and you could look at your school improvement plan and some goals that you want to have for your school, goals that you want to accomplish for your own teaching practice, for your classroom, for your students. Now, if we do this in a setting that we can communicate with one another, and someone mentioned about a physician. If you look at the model for physicians, when you make your rounds, when you're an intern, when you're a physician, or you're a resident, or your first years of practice as a physician, you get together every single day with other physicians and you talk about your day's work. That is extremely important. So keep that in mind, and let's talk about something even deeper. How do we know that we are concentrating on the work that matters? All of us believe, and we have good intentions on looking at the work we're doing and the conversation we have on how we're going to improve our practice for students to achieve. But we have to dig a little deeper, because professional learning communities, we know they're important. Research states this. You know, some of you here that are teachers know how important it is. But are we looking at professional learning communities and getting everything we can out of those communities? Do we have leaders? Because number one is the teacher in the classroom, and number two is the leadership at the school that will also help drive student achievement. And together, collaborating with teachers and leaders, that is the answer. That everyone at the school, every position at the school is working together. So we have to look at not only the functions of professional learning communities, but we have to look at the outcomes. We have a lot of inputs. We have to now look at the outcomes and look at them in chunks. And that's what the new Marzano model wants to do as well. Look at things in chunks. Be able to identify those components of your practice that are actually correlated for changing your practice, changing your behavior that leads to student achievement. All of us. I'm not only talking about teachers. I'm talking about administrators. Whether you're at the school site, whether you're at the district level as myself. We have to look at everything we're doing, because everything has to center around student achievement. So yes, we have a variety of offerings in our district. We look at all the inputs and we could give the stats. But what we now need to do is to drill down to the outcomes and look at those performance measures and look at each component clearly as a doctor would as looking at a patient, looking at to see where can I affect a positive change. And I think that is the key. Working with higher ed, having that streamlined approach from K through 24, and working with the interns, and now what I work a lot with Aline and with Marlise Hogan at NOVA and Don Torek at FAU, and we have monthly meetings that we get together, we talk about practice and how we can help our upcoming teachers. And this hasn't been said, but us in Broward County, we do professional learning with our prospective teachers in our district. We work with them on how to create professional learning communities so that when they are in the seat, when they open the door of that classroom, that they are ready and prepared, better than ever. So we do have that collaboration with higher ed as well.
Thank you, Doctor. Our next question will go to Dr. Kirk. Doctor, given the controversy surrounding the FCAT and concerns about using single high-stakes tests to measure teacher effectiveness, what other measures are being considered as part of the new teacher evaluation system?
That was a tough act to follow. We know there's a lot of controversy surrounding the MCAT and the high-stakes testing. And now with the new teacher evaluation system, that it's tied to student growth measures, it's a big deal, and it's a complicated deal. But I think what everybody needs to understand and be aware of is that the state, the legislators, the Student Success Act, that Senate Bill 736 has given us the parameters for what we can use to measure student growth with students. So yes, we're going to be using the FCAT for FCAT teachers because that's part of the Student Success Act, the law, and it tells us that you are going to measure student growth to evaluate your teachers. And if you are an FCAT teacher, you are required to use FCAT scores. Now, if you have been reading the news or keeping up with education, you know FCAT is changing also. So as FCAT changes, those measures will change. But what about all those teachers who are not FCAT teachers? How in the world are we going to measure student growth for those teachers? And that's where the state has given us a tiny bit of flexibility. We are allowed to use AP exams, advanced placement in high school. We're allowed to use end-of-course exams. I'm going to come back to that. We're allowed to, but we're not allowed to use some of the old standbys like portfolio assessment. Remember that? So the state has given us some parameters, and they've given us a little wiggle room, but not a lot. But one thing everybody needs to know is that by the school year 2013-14, doesn't that sound far away? But by 2013-14, it'll be here in the blink of an eye. Every single course that is not an FCAT course is required to have an end-of-course test, and that will be the main measurement for those non-FCAT teachers. So it's important for everyone to know that although there are other things out there available to us, we do have some parameters and requirements that we must stay within when we create these models to measure student growth, to be able to evaluate these teachers.
Thank you so much, Doctor. But don't hand that microphone away just yet. Actually, the next question is for you as well. The question is this. There's a lot of talk about value-added measures for teacher effectiveness. Can you explain to the audience what exactly that is and how they compare to past measurements?
Well, 6 months ago, I couldn't have told you the answer to this. But I can tell you that if you've heard of value-added measures, and some people call them VAMs, V-A-M for short, it's a big, hairy deal. It's a big deal. But it's really complicated. And so I would need about 35 minutes to be able to explain it to you.
I do not believe we have that time frame here tonight, Doctor.
All right, so I can tell you in a nutshell what it is. In the past, we've measured student achievement many different ways. How they did on an end-of-the-year test, how they grew from one year to the next. Did they move a level in FCAT from a level 2 to a level 3? Did they move within a level? But the state in Senate Bill 736 said, we want you to use a value-added model. And so let me tell you just a little bit about what that is. The value-added model is the difference between the predicted performance of a student and the actual performance of the student. I wanted to make sure I didn't get that backwards. The predicted performance of the student and the actual performance of the student. So let me make that simple for you. At the end of the year, you had 25 kids. Each child, did they do better than was predicted in your room? And Nicole's going to talk to you a little bit about those predictors. Did they do better than was predicted? How many of them did that? Did some of the students do as predicted? How many of them did that? You're sounding pretty good now. But did you have some students who did less in your classroom than they were predicted to use? Now that's a statistical model that creates that prediction. And it's very complicated. Nicole was on the committee to help create it. But it's being used all over the United States, different value-added models, but that's what they do. They predict where each and every student should be performing. And how did you do as a teacher at the end of the year? And that is what is going to help drive your ratings, a teacher's ratings. Did you receive a highly effective? Because maybe 98%, and I'm making this up, don't you quote me on this, but maybe 98% of your kids did better than what they were predicted to do. No matter where they started or what their issues were, each child has a predicted performance level that they should reach at the end of 9 months. So hopefully that made it a little bit clearer in your mind. That's the value-added model. What a child is predicted to do, and did they do it in your classroom?
Thank you. We appreciate that.